Okay, today's session is on plantar fascia taping. I've done this before, but I've done it with rigid tape. We're going to update you today using K-tape, elastic tape. And the reason we're doing this one is because the rigid tape is really good for if I want to lock up this arch, lock up this foot to stop it moving. So someone who's got severely acute plantar fasciitis, or they've done a tear in the plantar fascia. Maybe they've got a bony spur as well, and it's super painful, and they basically can't walk unless they either in a boot or they're taped up. That's what rigid tape's for. Today, this is more for mild plantar fasciitis, or say you are coming out of that acute phase, you've still got it, and they're returning to more walking, they're trying to strengthen up the plantar fascia, but they still need the support. That's when you can use your K-tape. So I'm going to show you that with this. It's also quite nice because it gives that a real elastic spring. So some people might like it better than the rigid tape because one, they can move a little bit more, but it's still got the support. So I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Two things you got to do first is to, like, you can call it a stirrup if you like. You're going to use long bits of tape to go from the big toe to the heel, there's one, and then the little toe to the heel. You can add on a third. I'm just going to show you two today. What you do to measure that is go from the big toe to the heel. That sounds silly, right? But that's what you measure, okay? So you look at that and you go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for her foot. Cut off 5. Just double that because you're going to have 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Now, with this one, as with all K-tape, is you round the edges. So just snip off that. That'll just stop it falling off and catching on socks and things like that. So round all that. Then what you're going to do is apply the first one, and the first one is going from the big toe. Remember, anchors are always 0. Cut off about 1 inch. So there's your anchor. That goes on the metatarsal head of your big toe. There it is there, okay? So 0 degrees, really lock that down because you do not want that coming off. Then you're going to grab this, pull it back to where you'd be for the last anchor, okay? Because that's going to be 0. So that gives you something to pull on. Plus, if you look at that, see I'm not touching the tape. You touch that tape, it's going to make it less sticky, so hold on to that bit. For the first thing what I want you to do though, is see how she's in dorsiflexion, she's lifted her toes up. She's got to relax that and let it go. Okay, what I wanted to do is almost go into a bit of an arch. So I can then crank this up. Now, I'm going to hit the floor with that. So what I want to do is lift her up a little bit. I'm going to crank this up quite a bit and wrap it to the heel like that and then put it down again so I didn't touch the ground. On this side, I'm going to come around the back and just then, see that lateral board of the foot, just whoop, and do that, all right? And that just provides with a very long anchor here. Good thing about that is if I have it back at the heel, it's more likely just to rip off the back of the heel. If it's long like that, remember that is 0 tension, right? It just keeps it secure. I don't want to be hitting the back of the heel and then it falling off. So then you push all this down like this, okay? So I'm providing the arch with a bit of elastic support, like a little sling, but also gives a bit of muscle contraction there. If you've got tape pulling on that, you're going to activate a bit of that muscle contraction to help our arch lift up, which supports the plantar fascia. And the big thing about plantar fasciitis is you do get a lot of muscle sort of almost denervation or deactivation because of the pain. So there's pain in the heel, the arch is more likely to collapse a bit, which then compounds the problem, makes the whole thing worse. We've got to try and bring that arch back a bit. So second one is going from the 5th mat, all right, or 4th, 5th mat, whatever. The outside or the lateral board of the foot, still underneath the foot, in there, stick that one down, okay, get a good anchor on there, maybe 1 inch of that, before you even pull it. So make sure you really push that down. The interesting thing about this is you're going to the same spot as you went last time. So grab that again, see that? Lift her up. Let it come into a bit of a curve. You may have to push her in a bit of a curve there. Pull it, crank it up. I'd go almost 75, 80, 100%. It depends on what you need. Wrap it to there. Round the back. You can just overlay that same one like that. nice and relaxed. Look at that, perfect. I came underneath that one. How did I do that? So then push that one down. Make sure there's no wrinkles. Really give that a bit of a rub. That'll heat it up. Let's make it stick a little bit better. So that's your first spot. Now, the second thing is coming underneath. Now I would go, it does depend on how long the foot is. You're going to do little stirrups like this. You almost guess the first one. It's almost going to be a little bit too long. You don't need these too long. 1, 2, 3 will be enough probably for her foot. I'll just trim that a little bit shorter. I'll show you what I mean, because these ones are going to go 100%. So I'm going to test the first one, because you can always take it off. You're going to go from the outside lateral border of the foot to the medial side. So don't do it the other way. Outside lateral border of the foot, you're going to start from the end of the foot, the distal part of the foot, and you're going to go proximal with each one. This one needs to be, if you look at the foot, it needs to be before the met head. So on the outside foot, that's just an anchor. It needs to be before that met head. All right. When you come around underneath, because the met heads are there, where you put the star tape, you don't want to be covering that. You want to be right on the end of that as for the first one. What I do is I come underneath like that, and I push a little bit, and then I'm going to crank it up like that. So I'm lifting as hard as I can, and then I back off. And again, there's another anchor, but that was 0, right? So think 0% tension. Can you see how tight that is in between? All right, it's 100% in between. There's one. You are going to do as many of those as you need to get right up to the origin point of that plantar fascia underneath the heel, and you might have to do a couple through the heel there. So if I then now go, okay, I'm going to cut off the same amount, 1, 2, 1, 2. We might have to do 4 of those. All right, we'll start with that. The good thing is you want to save some time. Cut the 4, put them all together, trim them all off at once. Easiest way of doing it. Put them all together. Doesn't matter if they're not exactly the same length, but pretty close to be good. Same drill. You're going to cover, each one is going to cover the second by half. Okay, so you get a little bit of a reinforcement of each one. So here, up it goes. Try not to have any wrinkles in the tape. Back it off. You'll find the patient loves this. Okay, when they stand on this, it's so supportive because you're really assisting the arch to help the plantar fascia, and that support just drops their pain down, lets it heal up faster. This one here, up it goes. You can see I'm creating a real sort of hammock there. Remember, it doesn't matter that it comes up onto the shin like that because it's a 0 anchor. It's not going to pull on anything here. It's just something to anchor down. Last one here. And that covers, see, that's going to cover the insertion point. And I'll just angle the foot a little bit like that. Oh, look at that, got some wrinkles in it. Try not to do that. There we go, okay. Now that's sort of forms the basis of trying to support all that arch up to really assist in giving that support to the plantar fascia, and then it'll drop the pain down, okay. With some people we do a tibialis posterior taping. That's another video for another day. What I would do is you've got all these, see these top parts here? You've got all these parts that can potentially come off when you put your sock on. So what I would do, if you've got enough tape, I would cover that all up. Because to be honest, these people are going to have this on for quite a long period of time. We're talking maybe 3 days. As long as they're not allergic to tape, you then put on a covering like this, just to cover the edges. Makes it look a little bit nicer too, but the main function of that is we are trying to not let it come off. They do all that good work and then it all comes off again. So like that. So it just covers a bit of tape. You can trim this off if you went a bit long like I did. There you go. Okay, and voila. So that we'll secure it down, and there's your plantar fascia taping. So when she loads bears, she's got so much more support in there. Try that. If you're having trouble or this one hurts a little bit or it feels it's too rigid, that sort of limits their walking, give the K tape a go and see if that makes a massive change. See you next time.